that
how
connection.
how both of them cannot be understood is what I will talk.
Wonderful. What are they trying to understand in this talk? We are understanding
How
what
in
cannot be understood?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead. Please go ahead. We can start, Pranav.
Okay, Ashwini ji, you can start your recording.
Yes, Shravanji, we can start.
So, Hari Om, welcome Pranav ji. So today's talk is on God and electronics, right? Yeah. Pranav ji, can you please start?
Yes. Okay. So I'll start.
Yes.
Yeah. So today's topic is something. So I'm calling it God and the electron. So the idea is not about. It's not about finally do I understand any of these topics. It's more on the lines of uh, an evolution, in the sense that how is God understood and how is the electron understood, both kind of historically and as a and so the evolution is kind of how humanity understood God historically, and also from a perspective of a single individual, how a single individual themselves understand God in different ways, from as a kid to as they gain more and more understanding, how they understand God. A similar parallel is what I want to talk about the electron as well. So both historically how the electron has been understood, and as a student of science how you understand an electron. So it's like how you take up mathematics, for instance. Uh, Directly you don't tell about calculus or trigonometry to a first standard kid, right? You teach the first standard kid how to add, then how to multiply things, and then the kid is introduced to algebra and so on and so on, and that's how the kid learns about different mathematical topics. Uh, so, as a student of science, you have been exposed to what an electron is, and then uh, as you keep researching more and more, you kind of dig deeper and deeper into what an electron is and get to the more fundamental aspects. I think of these two as exploring God through spirituality or exploring electron through science as one and the same. So this is the parallel that I want to bring to the attention here. So I have divided into 5 stages, and I will take you through each stage on how God is understood and how an electron is understood. So the first stage, I call it ignorance. Kind of like I think everybody is kind of familiar with this example of there is an elephant, and there are several blind people who who don't know that it's an elephant, and then they are looking at various things. They're feeling various things of an elephant, and they come based on what they feel. They come to their own conclusion. So, for example, one guy is holding the what is this called, trumpet, and I think it's called the trumpet, and I don't know, the nose of the elephant, and he says it's a snake. And similarly, one person is holding the tusk and they say it's a spear, and they're sitting close to the ear, and because they kind of feel the air around, they say it's a fan, and so on and so forth. But none of them comes to the same conclusion that it's an elephant, because they're not looking at the full picture. Uh, so this is how I feel people started off trying to understand God and, of course, the electron. So, so in stage one, historically, gods in different civilizations have been understood as a force of nature. So, so they see these huge giant waves being generated in the sea. They're in awe of the waves, or they see huge thunder and lightning that strikes, or they see a volcano exploding, and they kind of come in reverence to these elements through fear. So God is mainly a byproduct of human ignorance, rising out of the fear of these elements, and that's how God became awe-inspiring. So, for example, if you look at Indian civilizations, the Indra, Varuna, these are gods mentioned in the old Vedic times. If especially if you look at the oldest layers of Rig Veda, these are the gods that are mentioned: Indra, Varuna, Soma, Agni. So, in many civilizations, the people actually started off as nature worshippers. And these gods were born out of reverence for that awe-inspiring phase, because people didn't know what these elemental forces were, and they couldn't come to terms with it. So, God is so in the first stage where there is ignorance, God is actually understood as a force of nature. So, if you look at so this is the historical perspective, but if you look at it even today, many people in Canada, we have a term Bhaya Bhakti. So many people go to a temple, or talk to God, or visit God only when there is a problem in their life, or out of reverence, or oh, if I don't do this puja, something bad is going to happen, or because something bad has happened, I need to do prayaschitta and do this puja, and so on and so forth. So even today, like in like if you look at a single person's evolutionary perspective, a person most likely is linked to God because of that fear aspect in that person. So, in a similar way, people didn't understand atoms. So, when people first tried to conceptualize the atom, it's called the watermelon model. They thought the atom is like a watermelon. So it's called the Thomson model. So he said that, so so when they first initially thought about the atom, they looked into it and they said it's like a watermelon, and the seeds that you see of the watermelon are like the electrons, and this huge red background, which is the fruit part of the watermelon, is actually a huge positive charge area, is what they said. Anybody who has seen like the model of an atom knows that this is completely and utterly wrong, but this is how the model of the atom the model of the atom was first started, with a very, very wrong idea of how or what it's meant to be. So this is stage one, where God and an atom, or an electron also in this case, is understood first, is trying to be understood through the ignorance of that, of through the ignorance. So then comes a stage 2. I call this reverence. So this is when people have slowly started understanding things. And so if you can see, all the older gods like Indra, Varuna, they are depicted. If you look at the sculptures, or if you look at how they were depicted in olden times, they always have an angry face. Now gods have started to smile because because people kind of understood what gods were, or kind of like uh, they kind of started understanding these elements, and instead of attaching a fear aspect to it, um, they started attributing these gods as personifications of various virtues. So, for example, Lakshmi came to be as a personification for wealth. Ganesha came to be a personification of knowledge. So then, once the fear aspect is gone, for example, in the life of an individual itself, once that fear aspect is gone, people become God loving. So they started visiting. So people start visiting temples, for instance. So they first initially started visiting temples because they wanted something to be done, or they were fearful that God would they would face God's wrath. And then slowly they started understanding. Maybe they understood that God is not just about inviting wrath, and then they slowly started understanding, and then you slowly start loving these various aspects of God instead, and then you start praying. You start praying to Lakshmi for wealth. You start praying to Ganesha for knowledge, and so uh, instead of uh, instead of facing their wrath, they started invoking them in these kind of positive aspects. Uh, Similar thing again happened in the evolution of the electron. Once you started understanding how the atom is, so they've kind of figured out the model of the atom. It's not like a watermelon at all. In fact, it's like a tiny seed in the center, and there's this huge cluster of electrons moving around, and most of the atom is actually empty. Um, and then they figured out there are these electrons that move around the nucleus, and they started probing the aspects of the electron itself, and they found that the electron is actually having various attributes like charge, mass, spin, and so on and so forth. So just like how you have gods, various gods as the personification of different attributes, you have an electron which also has different attributes like charge, mass, spin, and so on. Then comes the third stage. So once you have reverence, this I call it the radical shift. So the shift is actually in understanding. The shift is actually a picture of going from an outwardly understanding of God to an inward understanding of God. So this I call it a radical shift because it's a very drastic change in an idea of thinking. So in terms of God, these ideas of external attributes of knowledge or wealth, these ideas started becoming internalized. So God as an outside entity or God as an idol started shifting to God is within me. So one way to think is that, I see these attributes. God stands for these attributes like wealth or knowledge or power, and so on. But these attributes are nothing but attributes that I understand that is present within me. So this shift in ideas of God being from outside to God residing within me is what I call as this radical shift in understanding. So historically as well, this has been the case where first during the early Vedic times, gods were understood as these forces of nature. Then we have the new generation of gods, which came, which were more of which were more of personification of attributes like Krishna and so on. And then we have the final stage of understanding where we have the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and so on, where there was this radical shift of God being outside to God being inside. Uh, so even so that is a historical perspective, but from an individual's evolutionary perspective as well, it's more like, so you first start visiting temples, you kind of fall in love with God, and then you meet a guru and you understand, and then you get a more fundamental understanding uh, of God being within you itself. Uh, so how does it map on to the science case? So I said there was the ignorance step where people thought the atom was a watermelon. Then people came up with this solar system model of of an atom, where the electrons are particles that have charge, different attributes, and that go around the nucleus, just like how the earth goes around the sun. But the radical shift in understanding of what an electron is through the birth of quantum mechanics. This is when the true nature of these electrons were revealed. So it turns out the electron is not a simple particle, like like you play with a cricket ball. It's not exactly like a cricket ball. It's not a simple particle. Electrons are something called as a quantum mechanical particle. So what that really means is uh, the electron has dual aspects. So it has a particle like aspect. So sometimes it feels like it's a particle. So if I tell you where a cricket ball is, you can pinpoint and exactly tell me the cricket ball is here. But if I were to take you to the ocean and ask you where the wave is, you can't pinpoint and say the wave is here. The wave is everywhere. The whole ocean itself rises as a wave and falls down, right? So you can't pinpoint and tell me, oh, this is where the wave is. It turns out an electron sometimes behaves like a particle, so you can pinpoint and tell. So it's like a cricket ball, and sometimes it behaves like a wave where you cannot pinpoint and tell at all. It's like it's everywhere. So this wave particle duality is one of the most radical shift in ideas that has undergone in physics, trying to understand uh, the the reality of an electron. Uh, so yeah, so this radical shift in idea is what I call, in terms of understanding God as within rather than outside, and understanding an electron in such an absurd way. How can something be a particle and a wave? Like, how can something be, how can you pinpoint and say, and not pinpoint and say at the same time? It's such a different shift in radical ideas. And I want to be I want to point out something here. So till before quantum mechanics, everything was nice in physics. You could kind of explain everything, and you can understand things. Quantum mechanics is the beginning of ignorance of a physicist, I'll say, because the more deeper and deeper you talk and think about quantum mechanics, the more absurd it seems to be. So uh, it looks I will so if you look at the journey of a typical physicist, so during school, times there is no understanding of there's no understanding of quantum mechanics. So everything is fine. Okay, once you start high school physics, you say, okay, electron is a particle, it has some charge, and then you do some physics with it. And then during your undergraduate days, when you're first exposed to quantum mechanics, that is when you feel like, wow, like this is such a nice topic. I didn't know, I didn't know you could understand an electron this way, and you start gaining knowledge, and you feel like you understand quantum mechanics. And then once you hit graduate school, and then you start thinking about the deeper aspects of quantum mechanics, that is when you finally come to terms and say, okay, I don't understand quantum mechanics. And then finally, if you talk to these physicists, like Nobel laureates, they'll say, I don't understand quantum mechanics. So I'll say this radical shift in thinking, in idea, is also kind of like is also the birth of uh, total ignorance that you would get once you understand a topic deeply. The same thing happens with I feel with God as well. It's so you first didn't know things. You were in that school stage, so God was understood as fearful elements. Instead, so you didn't know much. Then you started liking God. You started understanding God. So you started liking God, and now again it's down. Again it goes down, and you say, I don't understand God anymore. So that is this radical shift in thinking. Next, I call stage four. I call this unification. So what happens is once you understand that all these attributes are gods, are you go from God is within me to God is me. So you say all these so you have all these attributes, and so you say these attributes reside within me, to finally coming to a very subtle and deep understanding that God is me. uh, so in terms of um, in terms of the Upanishads, I would categorize this as the student, when the student has received knowledge from the guru, the student understands Aham Brahmasmi. This stage is of understanding. This stage of an understanding of God as Aham Brahmasmi is what I call as unification, stage 4, where you understand God is me. And so, in terms of science, all the I'm not going to go and discuss these equations and other things with you, but what I want to say is that all these attributes of electrons, like different attributes like charge, spin, mass, everything, all of these electrons attributes can be understood by this one simple, okay, I wouldn't say simple, but by one equation. So this was actually a thought by this famous scientist called Dirac. So for which he won the Nobel Prize. Uh, so the idea is that the electron was previously understood as having these various attributes. So, but in order to understand each of these attributes, you had to probe the electron and think about the electron in kind of like a different way. So the example is that in terms of gods, so God, in stage 3, God is residing within me, but still the attributes are different. Like, for example, Lakshmi is me, Ganesha is me, Shiva is me, is the understanding. So in that same way, and there is an electron, their electron has charge, electron has mass, electron has spin, is the understanding. With this one equation, Dirac unified all of these things, and it was born in a very natural way, where all of these attributes could be obtained in a very natural way just from this single equation. In fact, Dirac, after he discovered this famous equation, uh, very jokingly said, with this one equation I can describe the entire chemistry. So it's so uh, so that's how fundamental this equation is in describing an electron. So all the attributes come as a natural understanding from this one equation, rather than trying to probe and then understand the electron in its various aspects. So the final stage, I call it limitless expansion. This is when uh, God is understood as anything, everything, nothing, and everywhere and nowhere. So uh, in terms of in terms of the Mahavakyas, I like to call this as the understanding of God, where a disciple understands Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. So this is the understanding here. And then in terms of science, for the electron, what is the fate? So the most one the at the most fundamental level, the electron is actually understood as a quantum field. I'm not going to go into the details, but think of it like a fabric that extends everywhere in space. So think of it like a sheet of paper that extends everywhere in space. So this field exists everywhere in space. And the electron is actually what we call is an electron is an excitation of this field. So let's say you are putting a bed sheet on a bed. So you have the bed sheet. So the bed sheet, think of the bed sheet is spread everywhere in space. It's spread throughout the bed. And then let's say you make a tiny ripple on the bed sheet. That ripple is actually a product of the entire sheet curling around, right? Like when you make a small dip in the bed sheet, the entire bed sheet reacts. So the quantum so you it's so the so think of the ripple that you make as the electron, but the ripple is actually a product of this entire sheet moving around in a way. So the electron is actually a field, and a single electron so in this example, the yellow region is the field, and the single electron that is born is actually a consequence of this entire space-time field that is reacting in a way. So the beauty is that even when there is no electron, the field exists. So the electron field is still there even when there is no electron. So that is one of the most absurd ideas ever. Uh, so even when there is no particle, there is a particle. Even when there is nothing, there is something. So even when there is nothing, that something is actually everywhere. So so this final understanding of an electron uh, is what baffles mm, many of these eminent physicists. It's still very, very kind of an absurd idea, because it's there and it's not there. It's nowhere, but it's everywhere. Uh, so we are almost kind of like playing with paradoxes now, rather than uh, imagine something. So that's how fundamental particle can actually get. And so these are the various levels of understanding. Yeah, I think that's it. So I can open to question. I can be open to questions now.
It's a wonderful wave presentation, Pranav.
Hmm.
Any questions first from the audience here?
Wonderful, Pranav. Very,
Yeah.
very. Yeah. Can you please remove the PPT so that we can?
Oh, yes,
How
yes.
can I can? You can put my PPT also slide. My this visual also slide. So yes, Pranav, it's wonderful. You're given 5 levels of both electron
Yes,
and God.
yes.
Okay. So finally, God can be understood. I am God. I am God. I am
Hmm.
Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi.
Hmm.
Is there ever a way of understanding electron anyway? Because it's an object, either as a wave or a particle.
Electron
Or
can be understood as Aham Brahmasmi.
Aham Brahmasmi. Okay. So that's also Brahman.
Yes.
Very good. And this Dirac, right? Is mentioned a scientist called Dirac, right?
Yes.
What is this equation he has written? That equation? I didn't understand the
Uh,
equation.
Okay. So his equation actually, so earlier, the idea is that when you talk about an electron,
Mhm.
so the way an electron is understood is usually through experiments. So people started doing experiments.
Mm.
So people understood that the electron has charge because it behaves in a certain way. Like for example, you bring another negative charge close to the electron, it repels. If you
Right.
bring a positive charge to the electron, it starts attracting. So that's how they came to know that the electron has some charge. So they did some more experiments, and there is this thing called spin of an electron, and they found that the electron has spin. So it's a very interesting experiment. That is where the true nature of quantum mechanics of the electron actually started showing up. It's called the Stern-Gerlach experiment. Uh, so, uh, uh, so, uh, so yeah, so that's where so these so when people as and when people started discovering these different attributes, they couldn't put all of these things together. So to understand an electron, they started saying, oh, electron has this, electron has this. So then you keep adding these things to that. So there was no proper one single picture or one single understanding or one single theory of an electron. It was understood in bits and pieces. So Dirac is the one who came up with a very fundamental equation using which he was able to capture the all of these aspects of the electron completely with just this one equation. So that's called the Dirac equation. Now all of that. So when I showed you, it's so that equation. Let me see. Let me
That's
just
okay.
share.
I remember. Don't worry. So in that equation is mostly attributes of electrons.
No, so that equation, it's what you call. So that equation describes the quantum state of the electron, the state. So all these equations are describing states of a particle. From that state, from that equation of state, it's like Newton's laws. So you study Newton's laws in high school. So it's just one equation, but with that one equation, if I just put in what is the mass of a particle, what is the acceleration, things are going to behave that way no matter what particle it is. So in that same way, so that F is equal to ma equation that you study is actually the equation of motion of an electron, of a part of any particle that behaves according to Newton's laws. So this equation is an equation of state of the electron and describes everything of the electron. Like, so it describes the charge, it describes the mass, it describes the spin and everything of the electron. It's an equation of state. So now so now you can independently put parameters and say an electron has this much speed, then how would the trajectory look like? This equation tells you how it should look like.
So basically, Dirac equation is not in the quantum mechanics. It's in the more of a classical mechanics.
No, it's a completely quantum mechanical equation.
How in quantum mechanics are there states for an electron, or it's like a probability for electron?
So state is nothing but it's not probability. So what the most fundamental understanding of a quantum mechanical system is the state. Probability is something that you get from the state. So we call the state is understood as a wave function. The wave function, actually the real part, or actually it's the modulus squared. I don't want to get into the details, but the modulus square of this wave of the state actually gives you the probability. So in at its most fundamental form, the state of the wave function is nothing but what we call is another term is called as the probability amplitude. That is the most fundamental thing. From the probability amplitude, you can get probabilities. So this state, so if you solve this equation, you get those states, that exact states, those exact probabilities. That is what you get.
Right now, I feel I am solid. At the same time, I feel I am wave, infinite wave. Both simultaneously possible, or it's only one is possible. as a awareness.
I mean, if you are feeling, you can feel anything. I feel I'm in air, so yeah, sure. So
it is actually both wave and particle simultaneously exist, or the moment you look at the wave, it becomes collapsed into particle. No more wave is there.
No. So that is different. So you can collapse everything to a wave also. So it depends on the states you choose. So if something is wave-like and then you collapse, it becomes a particle. If something is particle-like and you collapse, it becomes a wave. So that is the collapse part of quantum mechanics. So that's why you can't figure out if it's a particle or a wave. If it always collapses to a particle, in the end, you are always observing a quantum particle experimentally. So if it always collapses to a particle, you would never know about the duality. But you have something that is particle-like, and sometimes it behaves like a wave. That means you are actually probing the wave nature. And sometimes you have something that's wave-like, and then you are actually measuring something that looks like a particle. So that's the particle nature.
So basically, it's neither particle nor wave. It's only measurement which gives us the illusion of both particle and wave.
Yes, so the way you measure, so if you are probing the wave aspects of something, then you will end up probing the wave aspect of it. But you can't probe the entire wave aspect of it in entirety because it collapses. Similarly, if you're probing the particle aspect, you probe some particle aspect of it, but you won't capture the entire thing because it's actually a wave.
What happens to objectivity of science? Science says you have to be objective verification. Now, your subjective verification or observation is changed the observed. So where is science here? Science principle that objective reality is required.
No, so this is the reality. So there is nothing. This observation thing is actually it's an interpretation of science.
Okay.
So it's an interpretation of quantum mechanics. There are actually multiple interpretations of quantum mechanics. There is actually one interpretation of quantum mechanics called the many worlds interpretation.
Right.
So in the many worlds interpretation, you don't need an observer-observed relationship at all. But which interpretation is true? Nobody knows it at this point yet. Some people choose the observer-observed interpretation. Some people choose the many worlds interpretation. It's nice to think about it, but there are no experimental advances yet to definitely prove that it is one kind of interpretation is correct. So unless you actually probe multiple universes, or unless you very definitely probe that the very act of an observation is disturbing the system and leading to a collapse. You won't be able to prove any of these interpretations with 100% certainty. So right now it's just interpretations.
Okay, Pranav. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Somebody want to say something?
Any other question? So Pranav,
Yes.
one thing is like God is a non-dual. That's what that means. It is everywhere. That's the only thing that's available. Whereas with electron, we know it's only one of the family of leptons, and there are multiple other, you know, uh, particles or waves. And in fact, entire wave theory itself is saying that so many infinite number of quantum fields. So, and in each of the quantum fields, each one is behaving like a god. So, is there a difference between what is the way we look at God and the way we are looking at electron here?
I feel so. My point of the talk was to not bring in multiple gods. It's understanding one God is infinite. Now you can have infinite. If you can have infinite infinities, it still doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So so that's the parallel. So like I said, it's not a complete one-to-one correlation. It's more of like a parallel in terms of understanding something. uh, like in terms of God, the first understanding is it's an idol, it's something outside, and then there is this shift in thought where it is something inside, and then but is so God is sought inside, but God is still sought at that stage, in the sense that, and the understanding is that God is sought inside, but God is something that can be understood. In the same way, for in the electron perspective, God is electron is now a quantum mechanical particle. It is more absurd, bizarre, but still it can be understood, is the point
Oh,
that I want to bring.
yeah.
But then the final understanding is that God is not sought, God cannot be sought, and God is just God. God just exists. God is existence. In a similar fashion, what is the fate of an electron? An electron is not sought. An electron is not. It can't be sought, pinpointed. It's kind of like present everywhere. And even when the electron as a particle itself doesn't exist, it exists in the form of a field. So it kind of like, so a thing. So the way I'm thinking is of a person in science trying to enter or understand Vedantic principles. More in terms of how to wrap the mind around an infinity in an easier way for a physicist, and come to terms with the understandings of Vedantic concepts, is kind of like the parallel I want to draw. Yeah, of course, like there are other fields, and people are talking about unifying these fields. And science is always a work in progress. If it's not a work in progress, then I won't have a job anymore.
That's good. Okay. So I guess that's why even Sadgurus are always having some job to explain about God. Okay. Okay. Any other question from anyone? Yeah. So if there's nobody else, if there's no other question, can we close it, Prabhuji? Any final comments?
Pranav, I have one question.
Yes.
We call God as one reality.
Hmm.
And electrons and particles are multiple realities. both wave and particle. Are we speaking of one reality in different names, or there are multiple realities?
So it's one aspect. So wave and particle are, I wouldn't say they are different realities. They're different aspects of the God, of the electron. Just like, so the parallel that I drew here is God has different attributes, and each attribute can be understood as God in itself, like wealth, knowledge. So there are different aspects which each of these aspects we kind of understand as the same God. And in the same way, there are these different aspects of the electron itself. There is the wave nature and there's the particle nature, which all kind of leads to different outcomes in experiments. And that whole package is what I call as the reality of the electron.
Are there multiple electrons or one electron?
Yeah, so that's
Multiple
that.
electrons.
So that's why that's what I told is this Dirac. He said with this one equation, I can describe the entirety of chemistry. So it turns out things can go very weird. So this is just a thought experiment. It's not actually proved, but one of the one of the one of this thought experiment, an extension of an extension of a consequence of these ideas, is that an electron can actually jump in time. It can go back and forth in time.
Mhm.
Okay, so think of the same electron going back and forth in time. So that means you can have multiple electrons at the same time. So I have an electron here, it went up in time and it came back in time. So at this point in time, I actually have two electrons instead of one. If it jumped and then came back if it jumped in time and came back to the same spot in time at a different position, then I actually have two people. Like, so I have actually two copies of electrons. So think of it like a person like me. I jumped in time, I went back in time, or I went forward in time, and I came back to this exact time, but I'm in a slightly different position here. Then you would be seeing two Pranavs. So now think of this crazy idea where this electron keeps jumping back and forth, and it fills all the atoms, fills all the universe, fills all the positions of the current. If you look at where all the current electrons are today, it fills up all that positions. Then actually it's just one electron filling up the entire universe that is just jumping back and forth in time.
Very, very old.
Yeah, so in that way, yeah, so this is called this was actually proposed by a guy called Wheeler,
Ah,
John Wheeler. And
okay.
yeah, so this is how crazy and mind-bending like quantum mechanical results are. So you could think of it that way. So, I mean, nobody chooses that interpretation today, but that could be an explanation.
Yeah, we say Brahman is all one only. There's no other. It's unique, non-dual. Can I say same
Mm-hmm.
thing for electron? Because electron also being Brahman.
Okay. So now you need to tell me what Brahman is. Uh, is it an objective reality or a subjective reality, or is it
Transcendental
a
reality.
pure objective reality, or is it a pure subjective reality? Is it something that can be objectified or not?
It is beyond subject and object.
So then, in that way, an electron is also pure subject and object.
Okay.
So
Okay. Thank you, brother. All that I have come to a conclusion that electron is only one electron. It's spinning and showing us the whole world.
yeah, you can choose that interpretation. Yes.
But
Yeah.
I also like this multiple world understanding, which is very nice.
Uh,
Which means many copies of me working in many places
yes.
Okay.
simultaneously.
Sorry.
Simultaneously, I am in many universes simultaneously.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is there a way of knowing what I'm doing in another universe? Any scientific experiment?
No, so we don't know that yet. If we knew that, then we could confirm that many worlds theory is actually true. So we don't have that.
Then what gives substance to many worlds theory? Is just a theory, no experimental results.
It's not even a theory, it's more like an interpretation of a theory. So quantum mechanics is the theory. How you choose to interpret it is the question. So for example, Earth going around the sun, there is theory. Now, what makes Earth go around the sun, I can leave it up to interpretation. For example, the most common understanding is that there is this gravitational force. I can also say there is an invisible rope that is tied between Earth and sun, that can't be seen, can't be understood, and everything. But that makes it Earth go around the sun. I can choose that interpretation. There's no way for me to prove that an actual rope exists. So yeah, so these are interpretations of the same theory.
But interpretations, do they help in any way progress in science?
Yeah. So interpretations are a powerful way to kind of develop intuition. Um, so so like if you want to like understand what something is, any concept, there is so in order to get some intuition you choose some interpretation. So so you kind of like in some ways, uh to understanding a result is easier through one interpretation over the other. For example, like when people frequently talk about wave function collapse in an experiment due to an observation, it's very easy to subscribe to the observed interpretation and kind of build intuition from there. At the same time, there are some situations where you have to um, subscribe to the many worlds interpretation because it feels more natural.
Thank you, Pranav. Wonderful talk.
Mm.
Electron and God. At the end, I realized I can't understand both.
Yeah. Uh,
Thanks a lot.
yeah. I think Shashi Rekha ji, you wanted to have a question, or you were looking. Can you speak out?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. No, thank you.
Okay.
No question.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any question? They can raise a hand or just directly ask.
Close with the prayer.
Okay, we'll close with the prayer. Prabhuji.
Asatoma Tadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Hari Om, Prabhuji, and Hari Om, Pranav.
We look forward to some more very interesting topics.
Yes.
Yes.
Next time we'll see whether proton is there or not.
Huh?
Is there something called
Proton.
proton also or no? It's not there.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm saying electron we understood. Is something like that understanding is happening at proton level also? It's also wave
I'm
and
saying,
particle?
yeah, proton is also kind of, but my point is I don't understand an electron. So
Okay.
in that way, proton is also not understood.
But proton is made up of some electrons or it's just a mass, a different type,
No,
different character?
proton is a different particle, like Shravanji mentioned. So proton is a different particle. So our current understanding of the universe is there are four fundamental particles, four fundamental forces of nature. At some point in time, these forces were unified is a theory that hasn't been proven yet. There was a time in universe where some of these fundamental forces were unified, but not all of them. But today, these forces of nature are completely distinct. So electron falls under one category of forces. We call that the electromagnetic force. That's where the interactions of electrons are. And proton is in a different category. We call it's part of the strong force. So they have proton is actually made up of another particle called a quark. So three quarks kind of join and merge to form a proton.
Quarks also
So
will have a
different.
quantum mechanical behavior.
Yeah, all these are quantum mechanical.
Okay. Thanks, Pranav.
In fact, every object is to an extent, even humans, is to an extent a quantum mechanical particle. But the point is that so you can kind of measure the aspect, or you can call it the quantumness. So the quantumness of a human being is extremely, 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 extremely weak. It's like looking at events. So if I make a coin toss today, what is the probability that I get heads? Uh, Maybe 50%. But if I look at something extremely, what is the probability that the Earth is going to explode today? There is still a finite probability, but it's going to be extremely, 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 extremely small to the value of, I don't know, some extremely small number. But still that probability is there. So uh, so in that same way, if you look at the quantumness of a particle, for an electron or for a proton, the quantumness is significant. So it starts showing all these quantum behavior, all the quantum attributes show up in those particles in a very significant way. But so that's why if there is a wall, the electron has some finite probability to pass through the wall. But if I ask a human to go across a wall, people will think that fellow is mad. But there is a finite probability for that person to pass through a wall, but it's so extremely small that if I today started an attempt to go across the wall, I'll be considered mad because I can't go through it.
Yogi is doing it. I don't know whether it's true or it's just a myth. Okay. Thanks, Pranav.